The LinkedIn Podcast Network is sponsored by SAP. Harness the power of AI across your business and achieve results that are relevant, reliable, and responsible with SAP Business AI. Revolutionary technology, real-world results. That's SAP Business AI.
LinkedIn presents.
In the moment that the unconscious mind crystallizes into consciousness, there is a very brief pause. A moment where the mind senses or feels in a very simple way whether something is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. It's not a judgment or anything like that. It's an acknowledgement of how something feels. These moments are fleeting, but they are often the most important ones in your life.
What's up, people? Today is Friday. My name's Michael Kovnat, and this is the Next Big Idea Daily, the show that makes smart people smarter by offering quick summaries of the most interesting new books written and read to you by the authors themselves. So for the weekend, I've got some tools to offer you, some techniques to help you keep your balance in a world that can often feel off-kilter. These techniques come to us from the book Deeper Mindfulness, The New Way to Rediscover Calm in a Chaotic World, by Mark Williams and Danny Penman. Mark is Emeritus Professor of Clinical Psychology at the University of Oxford and a developer of mindfulness-based cognitive therapy. Danny is a journalist, mindfulness teacher, and along with Mark, co-author of the previous bestseller, Mindfulness, A Practical Guide to Finding Peace in a Frantic World. Here they are to share their key insights.
I'm Mark Williams, Professor Emeritus of Clinical Psychology at the University of Oxford in the UK.
And I'm Dr. Danny Penman. Today, we're going to share with you 5 of the key insights from our new book, Deeper Mindfulness, The New Way to Rediscover Calm in a Chaotic World.
We're stuck inside a personal simulation of the real world. What we regard as the present moment is actually a stunningly realistic illusion created by the mind. An illusion so compelling that we mistake it for reality. It's called a simulation, and the process it relies upon is known as predictive processing. Predictive processing works by constantly guessing what information the senses are about to send to the brain. We do not truly see the world. We see what our minds think the world is about to look like. Nor do we truly hear, but instead experience the sounds that the mind believes are about to hit our ears. And the same is true for our other senses too. The mind predicts what we're about to taste, feel, and smell. And in practice, it is this prediction or simulation that we experience rather than the real world. As you can imagine, this is a fantastically complex process, but a simple analogy helps. If you're talking about politics in the United Kingdom and someone mentions the Houses of you can guess what's coming next, the word Parliament. Because you have predicted the word, you don't need to listen to the word itself. You can instead use that moment to capture the meaning of the whole sentence. Such predictions make perception and responses far more fluent because the world is normally predictable. As explained earlier, we don't create a prediction for one single sense, but for all of them, simultaneously. We construct a global model that incorporates sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and sensations. This model is constantly updated moment by moment and incorporates any deviations from the real external reality. We move through the world creating and updating, predicting and checking.
Mental distress can often arise from an inaccurate simulation of the world and the models it relies upon. The data from our senses is used predominantly to check the accuracy of the brain's predictions. So if you're not paying attention, then these predictions can drift slowly away from reality. Much of our distress and even mental ill health can be seen as a simulation that is becoming increasingly less accurate. We must be clear, though, this idea of a simulation doesn't mean that if you feel anxious, stressed, depressed, or in pain, that you are in any way making up these feelings. You are truly feeling those things. What it means is that the origin of them and the mechanisms underpinning them are just different to what you may have believed. And this insight offers a profoundly powerful and new way to relieve distress.
An ancient practice can help your simulation regain its accuracy by recalibrating and retuning the mental models it relies on. In the moment that the unconscious mind crystallizes into consciousness, there is a very brief pause, a moment where the mind senses or feels in a very simple way whether something is pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. It's not a judgment or anything like that. It's an acknowledgement of how something feels. In Sanskrit and Pali, spoken in the lands of ancient India and Nepal, this feeling was known as Vedana, 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 often translated as feeling tone. These moments are fleeting, but they are often the most important ones in your life. This is because Vedana is the tipping point in your mind that sets the tone for the sequence of thoughts, feelings, and emotions that follow. If it is pleasant, you will tend to feel positive, dynamic, and in control of your life. If it is unpleasant, you will likely feel slightly gloomy, deflated, and powerless. If it is neutral, then you may tend to feel bored and restless. Feeling tones only ever come in these three flavors: pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. They are a readout in the mind and body on the dimension of pleasant to unpleasant. It's like a gut feeling. It's not a matter of thinking hard about it or searching for it. It's more like the taste of something. You just know it when you taste it. Like tasting milk that's gone sour. You know it's unpleasant without having to think about it. Trouble is, we humans have a special difficulty when it comes to Vedana. Our mental life is so complex that we can become lost inside of it. Our thoughts, memories, and plans also carry feeling tones, and these trigger ever more thoughts and emotions, which also carry feeling tones. So, such balance points in the mind, the Vedana, can easily tip you into a vicious downward spiral that can ruin your whole day and sometimes far, far longer. Learning to sense the feeling tone, bringing it into the light, teaches you to recognize your underlying state of mind and helps you make allowances for your sensitivities and entirely natural biases and reactions. It gives you the space to respond rather than react. It helps you to compassionately accept that although you might be anxious, stressed, angry, or depressed in this moment, this is not the totality of your life with only one depressing future ahead of you. You can change course. Alternative futures are available to you. And tapping into an alternative future is as simple as sensing the underlying flow of feeling tones. This idea is common to many ancient traditions, and now neuroscience agrees.
Mental health problems have their origins in the deepest reaches of our evolution and include such creatures as bacteria, amoebae, and other single-celled organisms. Feeling tones rely on sensitivities built into every cell of our bodies from the earliest days of our evolution. Even single-celled creatures are sensitive to both nutrients and toxins. It allows them to distinguish between one and the other. And this is the essence of Vedana. It helps all living beings distinguish between the things that they should move towards, pleasant, and those that they should move away from, unpleasant, and encourages them to sit tight if everything is fine or neutral. Without such a sensitivity, they would be like a boat without a rudder, with nothing to steer them away from danger and towards a friendly port. In countless ways, Vedana marks the difference between life and mere machinery. But we humans have a unique and special difficulty when it comes to Vedana. Our thoughts, memories, and plans, which also carry feeling tones, can compel us to flee from our own minds. And while we can flee, we can never escape. This is the origin of much mental distress.
Meditating on such feeling tones can relieve anxiety, stress, and depression, and many other conditions besides. Although Vedana can make our lives very difficult, it can also be our salvation. It means that much mental distress can be gently relieved by learning to pay attention to our feeling tones in a very special way. Cognitive therapy and mindfulness-based therapies such as MBCT teach people how to decenter, or to learn how to see their thoughts, feelings, and emotions as if from the outside looking in. So negativity feels less personal. You come to see distressing states of mind as mental events, or as a stream of mental events. You can then learn to watch this sequence of mental events as if it were a stream flowing past you, with you watching with curiosity from the bank. In this way, such therapies enhance perspective and dissolve and dilute negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions. But they can only do this after they have first appeared in the mind and, crucially, begun to trigger other thoughts, feelings, and emotions. But what if you could deal with them before these distressing states actually appeared? What if you could go upstream to the moment just before they crystallized in your mind and gained momentum, before the little stream of thoughts had turned into a raging torrent? If you could do this, then it would be far easier to decenter from your negative states of mind, and your mental tangles would begin to unfurl all by themselves. It is possible to learn to pay attention to the moment-to-moment rise and fall of your feeling tones. It is possible to sense the moment just before your negative thoughts, feelings, and emotions appear in the mind and gain unstoppable momentum, before your life is upended and you slide into a vicious downward spiral. Feeling tone meditations teach this skill. They are a way of retuning the mind, of recalibrating your simulation and the mental models it relies upon, of reconnecting with life at its most basic and profound level. Despite its ups and downs, the mind has the potential to be reset, to bring it ever closer to its natural state of quiet contentment.
Thank you, Mark and Danny. All right, everyone, I hope that sets you up with some tips for a restful and mindful weekend. That's our show for the day and for the week. If you're not already subscribed, be sure to hit the follow button in your podcast player. And remember, we've got a lot of ways to keep you up to date on big ideas. We've got an app, a hardback book club, audio and video e-courses, and lots more. Check it all out at nextbigideaclub.com. And if you like what you see, you can use the code DAILY for a special discount. That's nextbigideaclub.com and use the code DAILY. This week's episodes were written by me, Michael Kovnat, and edited by Caleb Bissinger. The Next Big Idea Daily is a proud part of the LinkedIn Podcast Network. We'll see you next week.